He understood what was happening on this planet a long time before everybody else. When he started writing about sustainable agriculture and this sort of thing, about working with the land in a way that worked, when he started writing about that in the 1970s, there were no farmers markets in America. You know, we were a long ways from where we are now, and it was his writing that called into being so much of this emerging idea about re-inhabiting the land in a society that devoted itself for a very long time, still does in many ways, to kind of a consumer ideal, where our only job really was to consume things. Wendell Berry, from the start, has been making exactly the opposite point, that our job is to produce things responsibly, things like food and families, communities, and to sustain and steward them. We spent the last 100 years in this country consolidating agriculture. We went from a world where 50% of Americans were on the farm to a world where less than 1% are on the farm. We have about twice as many prisoners as farmers in America, okay? And we've done it and kept increasing the amount of food, at least until recently, that we produced, basically by substituting fossil fuel for human labor and human judgment. And so we've built these vast agribusiness farms, and it's kind of worked if you don't mind the destruction of rural communities, if you don't mind the destruction of topsoil, if you don't mind the fact that we've turned the most fertile farmland in the world into a kind of a machine for producing corn syrup and giving us all diabetes. If you don't mind a lot of things like that, I guess you could say it's worked. It's given us cheap food. But what Wendell Berry figured out a long time ago was that it wasn't working, that there were lots and lots and lots of drawbacks with it. So let's think about what a farmer's market represents, because the farmer's market is the most concrete manifestation of what Wendell Berry's accomplished. The fact that it's been the fastest growing part of our food economy for more than a decade is a remarkable tribute to him above all. A farmer's market's, if you think about it, a very different model than what we're used to. Lots of people bringing stuff there and lots of them taking it away. And, you know, I've been in the farmhouses of many of those small farmers, and I gotta say, I don't think I've ever been in one where there wasn't a bookshelf with 3 or 4 well-thumbed copies of different Wendell Berry books up on the wall, and maybe a framed copy of a poem or two of his, you know, the Mad Farmer's Manifesto, or some of those great works. Almost by force of will, I think, and force of the beauty of his words, he gave birth to this thing that now is one of the most beautiful things happening in America. A countercultural trend that's on the edge of becoming a cultural one, that bears great promise and offers us some examples of what we might do with energy and with finance and with a lot of other broken systems in our society.